The air used to crackle. It was a different kind of electricity. Fuzzy analog buzz, television warming up in a wood-paneled basement. 1985, 1993. The specifics blur into one vibrant memory. A synth chord, heavy, dramatic. Then the logo. Chunky graffiti-sprayed M squashed a tiny TV. Neon on CRT. More than a channel. A declaration. An altar for noise and desire. A secret handshake broadcast to millions. You remember the feeling, the anticipation. Sit through commercials, sit through news breaks, sit through everything, waiting for that one video. Guns N' Roses, fierce stage energy. Madonna, this bold pop visuals. The screen was a cooler universe. Leather jacket close up. Neon lights. Big hair, screaming fans as congregation. Worshipful crowd. It started with a rocket launch. An astronaut planting a flag on the moon. The flag wasn't Old Glory. It was the MTV logo. The first video was Video Killed the Radio Star by the Buggles, a prophecy delivered as a pop song, a mission statement. And for a while, it felt like the most honest thing ever broadcast. MTV didn't just change the music industry, it detonated it. Suddenly, a band's look was as crucial as their sound. A killer riff was great, but a killer video was a ticket to global domination. The visual became the text. The song was the soundtrack to the movie playing out on your screen. Think about the moments that are burned into our collective consciousness. Michael Jackson's Thriller. It wasn't a music video. It was a 14-minute horror film that shut down the world. It was an event. People talked about it at school the next day, dissecting every zombie dance move, every Vincent Price voiceover. There was a time when the phrase, "I want my MTV," was more than a slogan. It was a battle cry. It was a demand shouted by rock stars in commercials. It was echoed by kids calling their local cable companies. It worked. The channel spread like a virus, infecting every town, every city, every suburb, until it was ubiquitous. To be young in the late 80s and early 90s was to be fluent in the language of MTV. It was the central nervous system of youth culture, a monolithic force that dictated what was cool. It shaped our fashion, our slang, our attitudes. It was the arbiter of everything. The golden era was a dazzling spectacle of influence. Think of the campaigns. Rock the vote. Suddenly, registering to vote wasn't something your civics teacher nagged you about. It was something Madonna did, wrapped in an American flag. It made civic duty seem rebellious. Or the Unplugged series, which stripped away the gloss and studio trickery, forcing artists to stand naked with their songs. Nirvana's performance on that stage wasn't just a concert. It was a eulogy. A raw, haunting testament to Kurt Cobain's genius that became one of the defining moments of the decade. It proved that MTV could create legends as easily as it could broadcast them. The influence went beyond the music. It was in the rapid-fire editing, the jump cuts, the visual grammar that would come to define the 90s. The change was subtle at first, a slow poisoning. It began with a show about 7 strangers picked to live in a house, to find out what happens when people stop being polite and start getting real. The real world was an experiment, a Trojan horse. It was compelling, it was cheap to produce, and it was a massive hit. It didn't need $1 million budget, no explosions, no celebrity cameos. It just needed conflict, it needed drama. And with its success, a seed was planted. A dangerous idea began to germinate in the minds of network executives. Maybe the M in MTV wasn't as important as the TV. The music began to fade. Slowly, then all at once. The afternoon block of music videos was shortened to make room for a dating show. The late-night alternative showcase was pushed back for a marathon of people competing in absurd physical challenges. The music video, once the channel's lifeblood, became filler. It was relegated to the early morning hours. A graveyard shift for the diehards who still remembered what the channel was supposed to be. The VJs, our trusted guides, were replaced by reality show contestants who were famous for being famous. The Cathedral of Music was being renovated into a cheap, fluorescent-lit gymnasium. For the artists, the consequences were seismic. The path to stardom was no longer paved with iconic videos. A generation of musicians came of age without the king-making platform that had defined their predecessors. Where would a band like Nirvana or a visionary like Missy Elliott even get their start in this new landscape? The shift created a vacuum. The walls were already weakened from the inside. The foundation, corroded by years of reality television, was unstable. Then came the wave. It wasn't a physical wave, but a digital one. A tsunami of bits and bytes. It had a name, YouTube. It arrived in 2005, and it did exactly what MTV used to do, only better. It was on demand. It was user-generated. It was infinite. Why wait through an hour of My Super Sweet 16 to maybe, possibly, catch a music video when you could just type the song's name into a search bar and watch it instantly? It was a massacre. The suspense wasn't in whether MTV would survive, but in how long it would take to realize it was already dead. The ratings, which had been bleeding for years, began to hemorrhage. The target demographic, the very youth culture MTV had once owned, had moved on. They weren't sitting on a couch waiting for a VJ to tell them what was cool. They were on their phones, on social media, on streaming platforms, creating their own culture, curating their own playlists. MTV, the former monolith, was now just another app icon you scrolled past, a relic from a bygone era. It was like watching a heavyweight champion, old and slow, getting knocked out by a younger, faster fighter no one saw coming. The competition was everywhere. It wasn't just YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud, 100 other platforms. What is left when the party is over? When the lights come on and the last song has faded out? What remains of MTV is an echo, a brand name attached to a slate of shows that have nothing to do with music. It's a logo on a t-shirt sold at Target, a piece of nostalgia for a past that feels increasingly distant. The channel still exists, technically. It occupies a space on the cable guide. But it is a ghost ship, drifting aimlessly in a sea of content, its original crew and purpose long gone. The M in the logo is now silent, vestigial, like the appendix of the entertainment world. The aftermath is a profound sense of loss. We didn't just lose a television channel, we lost a shared cultural language. We lost the monoculture, a single video, a single song, a single moment broadcast into millions of homes simultaneously. That experience is now fragmented, shattered into a million personalized feeds and algorithms. We have more choices than ever, an infinite library of everything at our fingertips, but we have less in common. The communal campfire has been replaced by the solitary glow of a smartphone screen. The identity crisis is total. MTV is no longer music television. It's not even a particularly relevant reality television network. It's a paradox. It's famous for something it no longer does. It's like a legendary restaurant that now only sells branded t-shirts. The story of MTV is a tragedy. It's a Shakespearean tale for the media age. A king who conquers the world only to lose his kingdom, not to a rival army, but to his own hubris and the inexorable march of time. It's a cautionary tale about the perils of abandoning your core identity. MTV chased ratings, it chased demographics, it chased the fleeting whims of a fickle audience. In its desperate pursuit of everything, it lost the one thing that made it special. It forgot what the M stood for. It sold its soul for a reality show, and in the end, it was left with neither soul nor reality. We should pause and reflect on this. The fall of a cultural giant is always a somber event. It forces us to confront our own mortality, our own obsolescence. Think of other titans that have crumbled. Blockbuster Video, once a weekend ritual, now a single nostalgic outpost in Oregon. Tower Records, the mecca for music lovers, now a ghost-haunting Sunset Boulevard. These weren't just businesses. They were institutions. They were places that defined our youth, that shaped our tastes. Their absence leaves a hole in the cultural landscape, a void that 1,000 streaming services can never quite fill. This is the cycle of culture. The new devours the old. The digital replaces the analog. Every generation witnesses the obsolescence of the icons that defined the one before it. What feels permanent and essential today will inevitably become a nostalgic curiosity tomorrow. The fall of MTV is a potent reminder that relevance is rented, not owned. And the rent is due every single day. The moment you stop innovating, the moment you stop being true to your purpose, is the moment you start writing your own epitaph. So, what is the legacy of music television? Is it the endless marathons of ridiculousness? Or is it the memory of a rocket launch, a zombie dance, a flannel-clad scream? The real legacy lives on not on television, but in us. It lives in anyone who ever taped a video off the TV, whoever discovered their favorite band at 2 a.m., whoever felt a little less alone because a channel on a screen seemed to understand them perfectly. MTV, the channel, may be a ghost, but the idea of it, a place where music could be seen and felt and shared, that idea is immortal. And we are left to wonder which of today's giants will be tomorrow's ghosts. MTV didn't just lose viewers, it lost itself. Subscribe to Behind the Collapse for more stories of icons, empires, and giants that fell from greatness.